Hi, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I'm filming this on a very dark and gloomy and depressing Christmas day. Remember when we used to get sunshine in the north of this country, remember? Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about the worst books of 2023. The first is everything is tied for second place except for the last book I'm going to talk about. It's how is it too hot for the blazer? But it's too chilly to not have the blazer on. What am I supposed to wear? The first book I want to talk about is The Blighted Stars. Objectively, whatever that is, this is a 3-4 star book. People like this book. Like, it's not badly written. The story is okay. But the thing with this book is every time I think about it, I get more and more upset. Most of my upsetness comes from the wasted potential of this book. This book could have been so good. I've spoken about this before in videos, but basically a woman is in disguise and she's amongst her enemies, and then this turns into like a survival situation. This is in the very far future. They're on an alien planet. There's a thing going on. There's a blight going around that eats worlds, basically. This political system is extreme, cruel and extreme. It feels like space fiefdom and serfdom, basically. There's so much potential there, but it was ruined by the romance. Anytime something interesting would happen or a reveal would happen or some character development would happen, it would get interrupted by this very poorly written romance. It was especially silly because the stakes were so high. Our main character, the woman, her life is literally in danger, and she's sitting there like, oh my god, this guy is so cute, he's doing geology, what a cute little science boy, oh my god. I'm just like, what am I reading? Also, the lack of chemistry. Anybody who read this book, don't you think she had more chemistry with her friend than she did with this guy? And I'm just like, why was this romance in here? Apart from the romance itself, the story is interesting, but the world, not so much. But that's another personal thing. I'm just sort of tired of this type of grim sci-fi future world. I've seen this so many times before. I cannot stand it. I cannot stand women, people in general, being like, oh my god, look at this cute, hot, sexy boy. In high stakes situations, when your life is literally in danger, the fate of humanity, and you are sitting there being horny for this mediocre geology guy. Like, what are we doing? I hate it. I do think though that if you are new to science fiction and you like young adult books, this read very YA, then you would like this. In a similar vein, the second book I want to talk about is Fluency, another sci-fi romance set not in as far of the future as The Blighted Stars, but in the far future. You know, we've developed space travel. It's still as gross and uncomfortable as it is today. But anyway, this is a very silly book that fails at everything it's trying to be. It's trying to be a science fiction and a romance, and it fails at both of those. Another one that had potential that was wasted. This is about, as far as I can remember, there's like an old alien ship floating in space, and a woman, I think she's like a linguistics professor, she is asked to come on this expedition, on this trip, to go and investigate this thing because there's like alien writing and stuff. Initially she was not going to go, but she is attracted to one of the astronauts who's going there, so that makes her that makes her decide to go because of a man. And he's not even this guy. Oh my god, at least the guy in The Blighted Stars was like a decent-ish guy, despite being like a little privileged princeling. At least he was decent-ish. This guy read like one of those 80s movie, you know, frat jock dudes. And his behaviors and his thoughts as well, silly. So anyway, so she decides to go, and the trip there is miserable. And instead of doing any like scientific linguistics stuff, she can communicate with the alien on board the ship because of a special gene thing or whatever that she has. Like, do you see? Another one with wasted potential. It would have been so much more interesting, and I'm going to be shady, would have required actual knowledge of linguistics, or perhaps a little bit of research to actually have her try and figure out this language. That would have required way too much work that the author of this book was not willing to do, because she really wanted to write a romance at the end of the day between this woman and this guy. They don't even end up together. There's so much cheesy shit going on just outside of the romance, running around from space rats or whatever. Like, just, oh my god. Also, the supporting characters, wow. What are their names? What did they do? The only one I cared about was the doctor, because her character trait, she had one singular character trait, and her character trait was being competent. But at least she had a character trait. The other ones are all clearly cannon fodder, but she didn't even follow up on that. Like, kill them off. Who cares? No one I don't kill everybody off in this book. Everybody, even the main character. Then another book that I absolutely hated. I hated this in the moment as well as afterwards. This wasn't like a slow burn of hatred like the Blighted Stars. This was just immediate. And this is Chill Factor by somebody. Sandra Brown or something. This is supposedly romantic suspense. Hate it. Realized after reading this, hate that. Horrible subgenre of romance. But anyway, there's a mystery afoot. There's a serial killer. A woman falls in love with a man that she thinks is a serial killer. What are you doing? She's trapped in a cabin with this man whom she is pretty sure is the killer. All things point towards him being the killer in terms of all of the information that she has. But she's like, maybe he's not, because once upon a time, they had like an afternoon together at a national park by a waterfall. They made like googly eyes at each other and they had a conversation. Now she's like, maybe he's not the killer. Maybe I'm actually in love with him. And she has an affair with him while she's trapped in the cabin with this guy. Do you see so far what the theme is? It's women behaving irrationally because of dudes. Like being digmatized, basically. Just because of some guy. That's not even the worst part of this book. The worst part of this book is the nonce apologia. When you finish reading this book, you are expected to be sad that a teacher had to end her relationship with one of her students. You're supposed to be like, oh no, he's so sad. Oh my God. Oh, and she's also sad. There's a scene where the mother of the student comforts her. Like, he's in hospital. Bro, if it was my child, you would not be alive. They have like a little conversation and they kind of commiserate, comfort each other in the hospital. I'm like, what are you what is happening? I am going to need people who write romances or romantic subplots to figure out a way to make the romance happen without making your female main characters irrational and digmatized. Like I need that from you. I need you to do me that favor because I am tired. I have had enough. A serial killer? A guy who basically runs the government you're trying to rebel against? This weird 80s jock guy. I do have theories on what is going on, and if you want to know what the theories are, watch my most and least disappointing video and you'll see. Then it's just hot. Like, it's hot and then it's gonna be cold in 2 seconds. Then another book that I absolutely loathed this year was The Visible Filth. This is supposed to be a horror novella about, I don't know what. I actually do not even know. But it's actually a very dull interpersonal drama between 3 people, I guess, told from the perspective of the worst guy. This is the type of guy who thinks that he's a good guy just because the other dudes are worse. You suck. You also suck. Leave her alone. The scariest thing about this little short story or novella thing was the cockroach infestation. That was disgusting. You guys remember the movie Joe's Apartment? Good movie. Huh. Also, the whole time you're reading this, you're thinking, one, oh my God, I hope whatever horrific thing is about to happen, I hope it gets you. I hope you die, main character. And also, 2, you're thinking, go to the police. Take the phone. Go to the police station, be like, hey, yo, someone left this in the bar and like, look at this video, look at this weird shit. Leave it at the police station and leave, go home. The other thing to note is that there's a film adaptation of this and the main character is played by a cannibal. So that's fun. Wannabe cannibal, I guess, whatever. I don't know his life. We don't know who he's eaten. Then I read The Immortality Thief, and good Lord, the main character of this book has got one of those just really grating, oh, look at me. Look at me. I'm a quirky, quippy little boy. Look at me. Ooh, I make jokes at inappropriate times. I'm irreverent and quirky and silly. Oh, my imp is coming out. Like, what? I hate that. He's got one of those types of personalities. Annoying. Extremely annoying. This book is too long. Way too long, and it's long because most of it is padded by people running around being attacked by random things on a ship. This premise is kind of similar to Fluency, where there's a linguistics person, but in this case he is not asked to go on this, he is forced to go, because I think he's also a criminal along with being a linguist. I don't quite remember, but he is forced to go on this excursion on this ship, and while he's there a bunch of things happen, and the whole time he's like being quirky and making little jokes, and I'm just like, I wish you were real so I could find you and strangle you with my... This was unbearable, and it was inescapable because this was written in first person, so it's 600 pages of this man just being the most annoying person. Oh my God. Ooh. my imp came out and him and the crew running away from things. The only thing that kept me reading was every now and then there would be something. I like an alien artifact, and I like, you know, uncovering the mysteries of the alien artifact. It got to a certain point when I was like, you know what, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever the answers are not going to be interesting enough for me to continue suffering. But it still made this list because I read way too much of it. Then Three Worlds Collide. There is nothing more I hate than the way that too many male authors and filmmakers and musicians, etc., than the way that they write and talk about or represent sexual violence. It's flippant and dismissive and usually used for like shock value without any empathy or understanding or consideration. I hate it, and I hate this book. Just nothing but dry monologues and ethical scenarios that a 14-year-old edgy teenage boy would find interesting. Spare me. Then Trees. Trees is a graphic novel that I gave, or a comic. What is the difference? Anyway, Trees I gave 3 out of 5 stars, but all 3 of those stars are for the art. But the story, good lord, this book made me think that I don't like graphic novels. That's why it's on this list. It's not that bad. It's actually just bland. But I read this at the beginning of the year and I thought, you know what? I don't think I like graphic novels. Turns out this is just a bad one. I mean, it's not bad. Look, the characters are just archetypes. The story is just like whatever. It's the first volume in I don't know how many, so maybe that's why I didn't connect with the story, because I generally don't like series. I like reading standalones, so maybe that's why. This was just, you know, introducing everybody, introducing all the characters. By the way, the most interesting character in this book, the one I was rooting for and following, dies. So I'm just like, okay, cool, thank you. The world is kind of interesting, but not really. There are these like weird artifacts, monoliths that popped up randomly, and you would think that that would be more interesting than it is, but it isn't. I also just don't like this style of graphic novel. It's way too wordy for me. Just way too many words on the pages. It's not bad, but it's not good. But it did make me think that I didn't like an entire medium, so that's why it's on this list. Then The Fortress. This, oh my god, I have a whole video discussing this if you want to know. The cliff notes are, this was pointless. A pointless book about a man who goes to like a weird woman-led society where he is subject to BDSM rules for some reason, and he leaves this woman-led society unchanged. And this is pointless. This is a pointless book with a lot of weird things to say about sexual violence and nonsense. So those were all of the second place girlies. Congratulations, everybody. You did so well. Our first, let me put on my jacket because it's cold now. It's cold again. But the winner of Miss Universe 2023 is Mammoth by John Varley. Atrocious book. Horrific. This book is if James Patterson got a lobotomy and wanted to write like a sci-fi set on Earth. The premise is kind of interesting. Woolly mammoth hunters in Canada unearth a, I'm gonna say 12,000-year-old woolly mammoth, but huddled up next to it is a frozen human being, but he's wearing a watch, a modern watch. So that's interesting. And the rest of the book should be about uncovering this mystery. Like that's such an interesting premise. I read that at the back of the book, and that intrigued me enough to ignore the mammoth, because I didn't think it would be about woolly mammoths, and I hate prehistoric creatures. I hate them. There's nothing I hate more than a dinosaur, but woolly mammoths also. Saber-tooth tiger, anything, any prehistoric creature you can name, I hate it. I'm sorry, I don't know why. So I didn't think there would be a lot of woolly mammoth stuff in this based on the premise. I thought it was just mostly going to be about these people trying to figure out how this happened. Is this person a time traveler? Like, what's going on? You know, there's a lot of woolly mammoth stuff in here. But that's not what I hate. That's not why I hate this. The reason why I hate this is because of everything else. The characters who drive the story, atrocious. There's a horrible rich man, our main character, and his love interest, and the rich guy's wife are all paper dolls. They're not even archetypes. I can't even say that they're archetypes. They are just they're nothing. The writing is simplistic to the point of being patronizing. I was reading this like, whoa, is this for kids? I think even when I was a child and I was trying to be like, oh, look at me, I'm a smart kid, I'm reading adult books, you know. I used to pick up the occasional Wilbur Smith. I would have been insulted by this. Things take such weird turns in the plot, but not even in like a fun way. There's a section where he's like patriot acted. At some point, I was skimming to find out like what was happening, who's gonna go in the past or the future. I also don't like books about time travel, so that didn't help either, but you know, whatever. who's going to travel to the past and the future, and it was not worth it. It was not worth it. The answer at the end of the day in this book is, hey, sometimes things just happen. The universe is crazy and chaotic, and sometimes things just happen. Sometimes you just time travel 12,000 years into the past. Goofy, ridiculous book. Anyway, those were the worst books of the year. You'll notice that for all of my complaining about how 2023 books have been bad and disappointing, only one of those was from 2023, but that's mostly because most of the books that came out this year that I tried to pick up, I just didn't finish. Now it's hot again. I like to reflect and think, is there anything I could have done differently? Did I set myself up when it came to these books? And the answer is no. No. Maybe except for the Mammoth one. That one, maybe I set myself up, but I didn't think it would be so mammoth-y. Anyway, that's the video. Check out the other videos in the end of the year stuff. You know what to do. See you later.